Keep doing it. By the way, Colin, I'll tell you, I love when you speak. I love when you speak. The way that you incorporate like humor and comedy into it. Very enjoyable.
Hey, touch to hear that. You caught me on maybe my best days. I'm not a very consistent guy.
You're a professional, man.
Now you can tell me on my bad days.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Hallie. David Jones. I'm the Sergeant of Arms. Welcome to Queen City Toastmasters. Doesn't look like our president is here tonight. Elvis, Eric, did you know if Elvis is coming tonight or not? All right. There's no Elvis, so I will also start the meeting. Let me think. Last week we had the microphone, not the microphone, the room speaker. We had technical difficulties, therefore we're back to the microphone tonight. I won't be here next week, so we'll be back to the microphone next week with Eric. So please try to help Eric out with everything. We'll see how it works next week. Might just be on the phone. He might be holding his phone up for Zoom, but we'll figure it out. Let's see. This morning I woke up in Orlando. I flew home. I'm a little jittery because at the airport I had a coffee con leche, which kind of wilds you up. It's a good Cuban drink with the sugar in it. So I'm still kind of shaking. It was a big one. So, let's think. Well, Elvis is not here, so all right, we're gonna go carry on without him. Well, with that, we're gonna have a guest speaker tonight. We're not gonna have a normal meeting. We're gonna have 2 or 3 speakers with evaluators, but we are gonna have our Toastmaster of the night. We're gonna figure it out, and please welcome Colin Stifler, our club secretary. He's gonna be our Toastmaster of the day. Colin?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. It's his first time, so extra kudos to him. Thank you very much, Toastmaster David. Good evening, Queen City Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters, future Toastmasters, and honored guests. In lieu of Elvis not being here, should I begin by asking our guests to introduce themselves? Excellent, excellent. So as we normally do in these meetings, familiar to those of you who have attended before, our members, we'd like to kick things off by having our guests introduce themselves and maybe share a brief anecdote about what brought them here this evening, what they hope to get from the meeting or potentially the club. So to kick that process off, Jackie, you remember now. That's right. That's right. Apologies. We'll start with Natalie.
Thank you. Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Natalie LeGrand. I am a current Toastmaster. Have been for several years. I'm visiting today. I just moved back to Charlotte from DC. I've been living there for the last 7 to 8 years. I'm a member of the She Leads, She Speaks All Women's Club there. Completely virtual at the moment, give or take 1 or 2 events a year. It's a global club. However, what brings me here is that as a new resident or newish resident of Charlotte, I'm definitely looking to re-engage here and being back in person. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Natalie. Xavier, familiar face?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Xavier. I am definitely looking forward to tonight's meeting. What brings me back is the great speeches that I've heard over the last few months. So look forward to tonight.
Thank you very much. And we have Mike returning again. All right. All right. Well, welcome. Welcome. Glad to have you in those serious statuesque arms in the club. Yeah, we got to go short sleeves, give the people what they want. Right. And what's your name, sir? Tom, are you a member? Okay. All right. Well, does that count? Should we have Tom introduce himself? All right. Excellent.
How's it going, everybody? So I used to be in Toastmaster like century ago, and then I saw it was like a pretty good club to practice giving like presentations and speeches. So I thought might as well just come back and brush up my skills because it's a great group of people you guys got here, And I really like the introduction speech that you gave right there. So, looking forward to learn from you all.
All right. And we have Jeff.
My guest, I can still. Okay. Yeah, guys, I'm Jeff Naris, and this is my second time here as a guest. I think I want to officially join pretty soon. But, John mentioned before that you have to get reps in, just like going to the gym to become a great speaker. So I thought coming out to Toastmasters was probably the perfect place to do that. And, learning from you guys, seeing the way you guys built yourself up as speakers and getting to where you want to be public speaking wise, that's something that I definitely want to learn and continue to advance at myself and continue to get better at. So I think you guys can help me do that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And a warm welcome to our club president, Elvis Lopez. Glad to see you made it here one piece. So it is always a great day to work on becoming a better communicator. Thank you for coming out tonight for yourselves and each other. I'd also like to ask you all to briefly lend a hand to David Jones, or Sergeant at Arms, though I think given his many years of service to the club, General at Arms is probably a more fitting title, for everything that he does to make these meetings possible. He went through 3 computers tonight to figure out a wonky technology situation. We're back to the microphone as opposed to the spatial microphone, for lack of a better way of putting it, that we were testing out the last few meetings. The man is adaptable. He's a team player. Please give it up for David Jones. In this increasingly flaky world, feels like you can count on less and less. But sure as the sun rises and sets, you can count on this man right here to deliver for this club. And it's that consistency, it's that predictability that's at the core of what I want to talk about tonight. Routines and their transformative benefits. So what is a routine? What is a routine? Now, I don't want to patronize. I know you all know what a routine is, but I think it's typically defined using examples and not in plain language. So let's just break it down for a moment. And I like to do that by contrasting routines with habits. You see, a habit is anything that you do frequently. There might not be any structure to it. It can be something as simple as biting your nails. It also doesn't have to be conscious. But many of us have habits. Human beings were creatures of habit. But a routine is something that is done frequently, similar to habit, but with some element of consistency, either in the way that you do it or when you do it, or I shouldn't say or, and so consistency and intention. It has to be intentional. So my personal morning routine, which isn't very impressive, you'll probably laugh at it, is waking up, drinking a glass of water, and then walking my dog for about 25 minutes. So it's intentional because I'm choosing to start my day that way. But there's some flexibility in it. I might not drink the same amount of water every morning. I might not walk the exact same route with my dog every morning. But that basic sequence of actions, of activities, that's how I start my day, kind of locks me in. It provides this foundation from which I can go out and tackle the less predictable and more chaotic parts of my day. So a lot has been researched, studied, and talked about with regards to the benefits of routines. A routine can help you reduce your stress. For instance, I couldn't find my name tag right before this meeting. I had no idea where I put it because I don't have a strong routine for where I put my name tag, my car keys, my wallet, my phone. I'm often left scrambling before I have to be somewhere, and it causes my blood pressure to go up a little bit. Usually sets me off on the wrong sort of rhythm for whatever it is I'm about to do, be it going to work in the morning or coming to a Toastmasters meeting on Tuesday evening. Routines can also help you boost your productivity. Now, I never really tried this, mostly because I'm not a very consistent person by nature, but I always respected the logic in this. In college, people would always say, if you study or if you write a paper at the same time in a day or in the same location, it helps your mind kind of click in and boosts your productivity. I've heard authors talk about that a lot. You know, there's a time of day that's generally reserved for writing among many authors, and it helps them really get into the groove, into a flow state where they can produce to the level that they really need to. And finally, a robust routine can help reduce the number of decisions that you have to make. We have a lot of decisions to make in our lives, so many, from what to wear, to what to eat, to a multitude of decisions that we usually have to make at work. And science suggests that there's a finite amount of energy that we can allocate to making those decisions. So anything that we can do, be it through building a routine that regiments certain parts of our daily lives, such as the type of dinner you might typically cook on a Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, for instance, preserves that crucial capacity that you can then use to make better decisions with the parts of your day that might not be anticipatory or beyond your control. So routines have a lot of benefit. And tonight, I want to know a little bit more about you all and your routines. So when you come up here, if you have a speaking role, if you stand to speak, please start by sharing a routine that you have. Or if you don't have a routine, and that's okay, there's no judgment, a routine that you respect and might like to build or incorporate into your own life. Sound good? Awesome, awesome. So we've got a great lineup tonight. I want to turn things over to our John Capello here, our inspirational thought master for this evening, and he's going to walk us through a little bit more of an extended and unique inspirational speech that hopefully will drive home the value that Toastmasters can bring to your life.
All right, good evening, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests. Routine, my favorite routine. I have this app, it's a little motivational app, and it sends me, I have it timed so that it sends me that message at the same point right when I wake up. So something positive that just sets my day off in the right direction right out of the gates. I encourage everyone to try it. It's just something to start your day off with a smile. Now, it is a little different. I'm typically serving as trying to deliver up inspiration, but hopefully this will still be inspiration. Now, for those that were here 2 weeks ago, I presented what was essentially a practice run for a real life moderation of a conference that I had. Now, I know everyone, and you heard some of the themes tonight, when you first walk in here, you just generically, hey, I want to be able to communicate better. But occasionally we have those real world experiences that allows us to put it into practice. And I had such event. So I took on this project. It was one of the Toastmaster pathways, and the goal of the project where I could practice some of my intros, vet the quality of my preparation, as well as really right check my own mindset, make sure I was ready for the event. And then I could go back to you, my fellow Toastmasters, to tell me what I might not be thinking about. And I just want to say that by receiving your support, receiving your feedback, and really help tuning my mind into things I wasn't thinking about, just raise the level of my confidence, because now I'm expecting the best, but preparing for the worst. And that additional level of preparation, taking advantage of this no judgment zone here, that's why we're here. We're here to practice so that we can perform out there. It is my pleasure to say that everything went great. I couldn't be more thrilled with how it turned out. Well, I'm still receiving feedback, emails from both the attendees as well as senior management, and I guarantee you that I would not have been able to do that without the help of all the people in this room. So I first want to start out by just saying thank you. Now, Dr. Eric asked me to go through a few takeaways. So I'm going to key in on certain things specific to Toastmasters that I thought went well, or some takeaways that I could improve on, and then some things that didn't go so well that we could also just hopefully all learn from it and grow from it. A couple things just to start. David had mentioned feedback during the time about having a good energy. The topic was an insurance conference. Who could think of a more boring topic? Therefore, David was very impressionable about maintaining my own passion, enthusiasm level. And I carried that through all the intros and big smiles and high energy. And I think it really helped everyone stay engaged. Particularly, this was after lunch. It really prevented the head bobs or the distractions of looking out the window, et cetera. The second thing that I thought was good, and this was more of a generic thing that I think we learned here at Toastmasters about knowing your audience. I was very particular about making sure that the content was targeted. You don't want to go somewhere and learn about, I'm not going to tell you about what are the best roads and highways to take in Chicago if you live in Charlotte. You need to have that directed conversation. What does your audience care about? And this is how you connect. So I thought in particular, those two things helped resonate, really drive things home. Now, certain things that didn't go as well, and some of them are little, call it minutia, but I think important for us to take away. Now, when I went back and looked at, as you all know, you can go back online to any Toastmaster and look on YouTube and say, okay, how did I do? And what I noticed, one thing you didn't call out, David was my evaluator for my project, is that when the audience asked questions, what I didn't realize because of the mic is that the people online could not hear the questions. So when I was answering the questions, no one online knew the content or the context of which I was answering it. This very thing happened at the conference. So I had these wireless microphones. And of course, toward the end of the conference, the battery started running out. So anyone who had a question had to just shout it out. And only the speaker who was closest to the front could hear what the question was. And the speaker did not repeat the question. So when they're answering it, the audience is trying to put together what exactly are they answering. So something, perhaps a lesson we can all take, I know we do this during table topics, but if you get asked a question in a presentation mode, repeat the question so that everyone else in the audience can truly embrace and understand what you're answering. The second thing that I thought was called a Toastmaster no-no, and thankfully it wasn't me. So I had an expert. This person was a PhD. Their presentation riddled with filler words. I mean, riddled with filler words. You could not comprehend where she was going with her thesis. No one could understand. And if you did, you probably felt like, because of her lack of confidence, that it detracted from her conviction. So it's something that we follow, and you'll hear the grammarian who'll come up and talk about filler words, a habit, an intentional habit that we try to do here at Toastmasters to make sure we're eradicating filler words from our speech. And this was a perfect example that being knowledgeable does not necessarily make you a good communicator. So all in all, I would just like to say thank you again. And I have to leave you with something inspirational. If you're going to do a routine, make your routine coming to Toastmasters. Here is where maybe you've heard the quote, you don't rise to your highest level of expectation, you rise to the highest level of your preparation and your intentional habits. So come here, develop good skills and intentional habits, and then you can deliver out there where it matters most. Colin?
Thank you very much, Sean. And as always, one of the most inspired speakers to have as your inspirational thought master. So anytime I see his name on the roster for that particular role, it pumps me up. Before I introduce some of the key players that are going to help us move through tonight's meeting, we have a special announcement from our club president and also Sergeant at Arms, or just a Sergeant at Arms, excuse me. And we've also missed the opportunity to introduce a few guests online. So apologies to our guests online. We'll extend that opportunity to you now.
Thank you, Colin. I was waiting for our president, Elvis, to show up. One of the reasons to join our club is she's not here tonight, but our area director is a member, Dr. Carla Jones. And as most of you know, I'm the division director of this area. So it's just having the right people at the club. This past weekend was our annual convention here for Toastmasters, and I am the new club growth director, which is part of the trio, which is the main leadership. So it's a great club to come. There will probably be more people coming now that I have that role. But it's just a spectacular thing. We did get an award, and that's why I wanted Elvis up here. And I'll say what the award is, and then I'll show you what it is. We are the oldest club in Charlotte, and we are 70 years. with our president. I was going to have him flip it over, but he wasn't here beforehand to do it. But just congratulations to Elvis as our president. We're at 70 years. Oops. Anything you want to say?
Well, just to say again how fortunate we are as a club that we have a division director, area director, now a club growth director that goes at the district level. And also, something that I missed on our previous meeting, we have the district chief Josh also as part of our club. So we're very fortunate. Thank you to all our members and guests who always join our meeting and continue in our riding with us in this journey. This is for all of you, and all of these achievements are part of the efforts of all of our members from many years ago. As David mentioned, this club is now 70 years old. We are the fourth oldest of the district and oldest club in Charlotte. So congratulations to all of us for these achievements. And now back to our Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Elvis and David. And as I mentioned previously, we have two more guests joining us online. I'd like to give them the opportunity to introduce themselves belatedly. So we will start with Dee. Dee, if you could please state your name for us, why you were interested in coming to our meeting tonight, and then also, per my earlier request, a brief description of any routines you may have or wish to have.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Dee. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. You can.
Yes.
My
Yes,
name
we
is
can.
Dee. This is my second time attending virtually. I would love to attend in person, so thank you for the address in the chat. I already know I would like to join. The very first time I learned so much, and I have a feeling this is going to take a while, so I might as well become a member. To answer your question about routine, pretty typical. Get up in the morning, start with water, start with prayer, start with a devotional hour, and then I exercise for about 30 to 45 minutes, and then I log on to work. That's pretty much my routine. And I would guess that's intentional. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Excellent. Welcome. We have one more guest joining us online. Tom, put the same instructions to you, sir.
Sure. You guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. This is my first time virtually, and again, I would mimic the desire to be there in person. So looking forward to that. And you want routines? I have a pretty good routine. I work from home, and so I go on a walk at lunch every day with my dog. It's a good breakup from, good way to break up the day and get some exercise in and reset your mind for the afternoon.
Excellent. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you.
So moving right along, I'd like to introduce two partners that are going to help me usher this meeting to its conclusion tonight. The first of which is a very important role, our grammarian, and I will allow our grammarian of the evening, Dr. Eric Laxer, to introduce his unique roles and responsibilities.
Thank you, Toastmaster Colin. And I'm going to share one of my morning routines with you, which is a relatively recent one. I started drinking an elixir in the morning of turmeric, supposed to be good for you, and ginger, and orange juice and lemon juice and black pepper. My wife thinks it's vile, but I really do like it, and I actually got her to try it. So if you're looking for something, I have the recipe. I will gladly share it with you. So good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. My role this evening is grammarian. And for those of you not familiar with grammarian, the grammarian's role is two things. One is to help us keep track of filler words, which have already been alluded to. Examples of filler words are so, I have a genetic predisposition to filler words, and you may hear some of them while I speak, but I will be counting the club's use of filler words, and I will give you a report on the filler words at the end of the meeting. My second role is to share with you the word of the day. And in keeping with our guest speaker's theme on volunteering in the community, which she will talk about, the word of the day is altruism or altruistic. And the definition is having or showing concern for the wellness or the welfare of others. So an example of altruism is when you serve as a volunteer at a shelter, you are demonstrating a form of altruism of the highest order. So I will return at the end of the meeting, and I will now hand the microphone back to our Toastmaster of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Eric. And a special shout out to both Eric and Marcelo, who I'll be introducing shortly, for their altruistic spirit this evening. We did not have anyone sign up to fill the roles of grammarian and timer tonight, and they have stepped up big time and little notice to provide that service to us tonight. So thank you to them both. Marcelo, our timer this evening, please come up and explain your duties.
Thank you. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. I finally am a Toastmaster, so I'm excited. I'm part of the club. And honored guests. I always wanted to say that. I'm saying it. And to everybody on Zoom, welcome, welcome, welcome. So as your timer of the night, I will be basically documenting the speeches. And for our speaker today, Courtney, I will be turning on the green light at 7 minutes. Where's Courtney? Okay, good. And then at 8 minutes, the yellow light. And then at 9 minutes, the red light. So watch yourself, okay? And then for our table topics, we have 1 minute green, 1 minute and 30 seconds yellow, and then 2 minutes red. All right. So that is my job for this evening. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I'm going to hand it back to our Toastmaster of the evening, Colin. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Marcelo and Eric. Without further ado, we are now about to step into the main course of tonight's meeting. The appetizers and hors d'oeuvres have finished. And that is going to include a very special occasion tonight, a guest speech by Courtney Folks, and I'm going to briefly introduce her for us. So Courtney has been a Charlottean since she was 10 years old. She has a creative approach to life, values genuine connection, and believes in the power of community, which I know are things every one of us here also believe in. So a kindred spirit. She received a bachelor's degree in psychology and communication from UNC Charlotte and a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling with a specialty in addiction. She has a heart for public service. She worked in women's programming at the county jail in Uptown. She spent 10 years helping people overcome addictions before transitioning to real estate, which I bought a house last year. It was one of the most stressful experiences of my life. Also believe that that is an altruistic profession, helping people through one of the biggest decisions that they'll ever have to make. Her hobbies include exercising, spending time with friends, family, and her dog, Hutch. What type of dog is Hutch? He's a black lab. That's a great name for a black lab. And anything to do with the outdoors. So let's give a warm Queen City Toastmaster welcome to Courtney Folks, who's going to deliver her speech, Making a Difference, the Power of Volunteering in Your Local Community.
Okay, well, rather than calling this a speech, I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm just going to tell some stories. Again, I'm Courtney. I'm really excited to be here. And thank you so much for the introduction. As I said, you guys are really good at this, so I'm excited to come back more. As he mentioned, I served in the mental health field. I had the opportunity to work with men experiencing homelessness who are struggling with drug and alcohol addiction. And just through the power of service and the power of getting to know people authentically and genuinely through really the most difficult time in their lives, I not only was able to go through that with them, but was able to grow and learn so much about myself as well. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and take, for me, what I see as the mission of my life and tell 3 stories around that. I take a creative approach to life. It was 2013 in the middle of summer, and a gentleman walked in for his screening interview, which means we were trying to figure out, is this man a good fit? Is this, going to be a place where he can work on his recovery? He had actually served as the choir director at Urban Ministry Center. He struggled with drug and alcohol addiction since he was a teenager. And so for him, it was really something that he was able to hide until he wasn't able to anymore. He was taking the choir to an event. He crashed the van. It was a whole thing. He ended up in the hospital. And that was really when he said, I need some help. So he came in that day and, we kind of did our thing. I asked the questions and I noticed, this gentleman is really struggling. He was being very combative. And at that point, I was a new counselor. I went to my supervisor and said, hey, this is a situation. I'm not really sure what to do. I thought she had all the answers. And so she came in and the same thing happened. And she looked at me and said, Courtney, this is going to be your client. You can choose to continue, or you can say, this just isn't going to work. And so the creative approach, at least in my mind, that I took, and I think sometimes it's just going with that gut feeling. I looked at him and I said, I believe you're worthy and deserving of this opportunity. And we both know that you have not been honest during our time together. I would love to give you the opportunity to come back tomorrow. And when I said those words, worthy and deserving, tears just started coming down his face. I think that is an example of the genuine connection when 2 people enter into a space and a place of being willing to be vulnerable. I didn't know if that was what he needed to hear, but I took a leap of faith and it ended up working out. He is 8 years drug and alcohol free. He has returned to music, which was, in his words, filled up his heart. And it was an honor to walk alongside him in his journey. The next thing I want to tell a story about is genuine connection. Colin, correct? As Colin shared, I did my first clinical at the jail uptown with women's programming. I was sitting in class and they said, we're going to be able to provide this opportunity to 5 people. And I actually stood up rather than raising my hand. I was really excited about that opportunity. And so the first week I was there, they allowed me to choose whether I wanted to do group or individual. And the reason that was somewhat of a big decision is some of the individual therapy would have to take place in solitary confinement. And so, again, I was excited. I met my client that first day and she looked at me and said, I'm not going to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. And that was kind of that. So I tried to build some rapport. And I'm not going to go into all the details of her story, but our time together was one of the first experiences in her life where she had the opportunity to share some of what she had experienced. As a child, she grew up experiencing homelessness. Her mom really struggled with the disease of addiction and mental health. And I need to take a deep breath. I'll never forget the last time we met. She looked at me and just in asking about what was most beneficial during our time together, she said, thank you for believing I'm a person too. And I think that is an example again of that genuine connection. Often, I keep saying, work on that. It's like 5 fillers. So in our time together, that was a huge lesson for me. Yes, you can go to school for something, you can read all the books, but if you show up genuinely and authentically in who you are, and you're willing to be vulnerable, you're willing to show someone who you are, that's the magic of it. And I will never forget her face. I will never forget that experience and time that we had together. The last thing I want to share is about community. As we talked about earlier, I was able to serve for about 10 years. After COVID, that's not a time right now to talk about heartbreak and transition, but I thought I would be in the field until I was about 85. COVID really kind of changed that. So I'm now in real estate. And as I was putting out some of my open house signs, it was probably 6 months ago or so, I saw a gentleman that I recognized. Before I worked with the treatment program, I had the opportunity to do street outreach. And so what that meant is I would go bother people until they would at least have a conversation with me to see if they wanted to enter into recovery. So I recognized the gentleman from that. He introduced me to some of his friends, and she said, I have a friend that's out in the woods. If you would be willing, I think he might want to go to treatment. So I gave him my card. My card was somehow passed around to 5 other people, and I got a call at 9 p.m. from a gentleman in the woods. He said, I am sick and tired. I want to do something different. I have 2 dogs. I will not go unless I have a place for my dogs to go. So the power of community, Heather was a part of that. So many people came together on social media. It was shared. His dogs were fostered for a few weeks, and he had the opportunity to go to treatment. So unfortunately, he is still struggling, which of course breaks my heart. And at the same time, you never know the difference that experience made for him. So I'm not going to continue to stand up here and tell you all the reasons why I think you should volunteer or where you should volunteer. My hope is that from some of these stories and lived experiences, you can see the difference that is possible and the difference you can make. I think Heather's a wonderful example of that. We met at a mental health event back in the fall, and I remember her speaking for the first time, and I thought, she is really good at that. I want to be like her. And after getting coffee for the first time, we had so many things in common, not only in our life stories, but in our desire to serve in the community and come together to bring people together to do good. And so we met at the mental health event. We've now done 2 events. She is committed to joining me in those events, and it's been a great experience. I'm so grateful for her. Despite my transition of careers, I will never stop pouring, loving, and serving in the community. It is an incredible experience and one that, quite honestly, you'll keep coming back to. And I would love for you all to join us. I'll have a sign-up sheet back there and also a card. So thank you so much for having me, and I'll see you at our next volunteer event. Yep.
Excellent job, Courtney. That was fantastic. Yeah. Well, you did not appear such. Yeah. Well, you did not betray that at all. That was excellent. That's an excellent idea, Eric. What Eric said was if anyone has any questions, this represents a fitting time for a Q&A session. Yeah, of course. Of course.
Okay, this is the part I'll be good at. Come on. Yes. That's a great question. So the events we've done so far, Charlotte Rescue Mission has 2 treatment programs, one for women called Dove's Nest and the other for men, Rebound. So Heather is, as you all know, she is into fitness and holistic lifestyle. We did a workout with the women, which some of them enjoyed, some of them did not, but I had her doing jumping jacks in a circle by the end. So that was a victory. So we did a workout with the women. We also, Heather shared about holistic living, holistic lifestyle, and then I did a short educational piece on cognitive behavioral therapy, which was a lot of fun. They asked when we'd be coming back, so I take that as a win. And then most recently, we did a game day at a supportive housing community. There's about, I would say, 5 to 10 residents that came, which was really wonderful too. Not only for the residents, but also the individuals that came had the opportunity to meet with the director to learn more about the program, who they serve, and ways to get involved. You're welcome. We'll see you at our next event. How frequently? So I wish I had an exact answer for that. It really is going to depend on the organization. One of the events we'll be doing this summer is serving lunch at Urban Ministry Center. So of course that will be during the day. There is the option to do that during the week or weekend. So we'll usually reach out to people to see when a good time for them is. Other events like the women's event we did, they said it had to be from 10 to 12 on a Saturday. So we try to plan around people's schedules, but then also with some of the schedules with the organizations, we don't have much flexibility around that. And in terms of how often, we're usually every other month. You're welcome. Yes, I did not do that. There's something else I learned. Yes.
So how do volunteers balance engaging with people who are there to meet them with also engaging with personal space? Especially today, you know, we all have a cell phone or people say, hey, really like talking to you and yourself. Like, who or how is that like?
That's a great question. So really, how do you balance those boundaries as a volunteer when you are working with the individuals that you're serving? One thing that I will do just from my experience as a clinician is I will meet with the group before we actually start serving to help them understand, hey, confidentiality. So what you say here, what the clients say here, it stays here. Of course, it's not a therapeutic session, but I want to be respectful of people and their experience. Also with cell phones, normally the organization will have people sign a waiver stating that you are not to use your cell phone for any type of media unless the clients give you permission for that. So that's going to be a waiver and then also a conversation that I have with folks. I'll go over just some of the, as you mentioned, in terms of space and that sort of thing, that you want to allow someone, of course, to come to you, just maintaining that distance and really conversations too. I know we had a situation with someone that came up during the game day that was just having a hard time. And so I was able to share with the volunteers beforehand, hey, please don't engage with this person, allow them to come to you.
During these meetings for the volunteers or the volunteers?
It depends on the organization. So kind of big picture, the ones that the two that we've done this year so far, it was really just needing your basic information. So name, email, phone number, if you volunteered before. With CMS, I did help with the playground build, and they actually do, of course, do a background check. So it depends on the organization for that.
This is more of a personal question. I'm in the process of buying my first home.
Yes, I have a lot of advice, and I'd love to give you my card and we can grab coffee. Did you have a question?
I feel like a lot of people everybody has a good heart and most people want to give and support our community, but most people don't know how to do that. So you're going to give your contact information. Do you have any other information that maybe people could Google or look up in ways to get involved in the community?
Absolutely. I would be honored to be your point of contact if you are looking to get involved in the community. If there's this, you know, if you love working with kids, awesome. I'd love to provide some information on organizations who serve children. It doesn't have to be, you know, substance abuse and homelessness in terms of my experience. I am familiar with the nonprofit world and I'd love to be able to help in any way that I can. I think just big picture, if we don't ask those questions, if we don't know what to do, the answer is we often don't do anything at all. And so please reach out. I am happy to help. And if I don't have an answer, I promise you I will find out an answer. Okay, cool. Now I get to look at there.
Yes. Thank you very much, Courtney. What an excellent speech and a very poised question and answer session as well. I thought you just did a fantastic job delivering a speech that was personal, yet also a call to action. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that for folks who desire to come to Toastmasters, it's probably because you value self-improvement. Folks who value self-improvement, I think, are some of the wiser folks in our society. And doesn't surprise me that the sort of message that you brought to us tonight resonated with people the way it clearly did. So thank you. Marcelo, I'd like to turn things over to you for a timer's report for Courtney's speech, please.
First off, that was amazing. Like, that was incredible. Like, I got goosebumps hearing your story. And if you think you were nervous, like, it didn't come off like that at all. So keep doing what you're doing. I love it. And you came in clutch. You came in at 8 minutes and 7 seconds. Perfect. Perfect. So that's my job. That's it. Thank you so much.
Excellent timers report, Marcelo. Thank you for your dedication to the role. At this point, I'd like for us to transition into our improvisational speaking activity of the evening, table topics. So unlike the prepared speech that Courtney delivered, we're going to test some willing participants' ability to think on their feet. So raise your hand if you dare. Don't worry, don't worry. It's a safe environment. It's a safe environment. This is a critical skill to build because so many contexts in our lives require improvisational speaking. So we got to try and get comfortable with it. And to guide us through this phase of the meeting, I'm going to turn it over to David Jones, our table topics master.
Colin? I was just checking the batteries based on what John said. So we're okay. So we say go for the green. So 1 minute, if you can try to get to the green, that would be great. And I want to start with, I believe it was Princess. Was that? Is that your name? Yeah, you're a veteran. Veteran Natalie. Okay. Is there a Princess here? I was looking at the names in the back. There's Princess. Okay. But Natalie's a veteran. What? No, we'll get to Princess too. Don't worry. We're going to get to a lot of guests. But no, you're a veteran Toastmaster. But a guest at a first time here. So Natalie, you are a Toastmaster. Hello, welcome everybody. What is your routine to make you come to this Toastmaster, to keep looking for more Toastmaster opportunities, speaking opportunities, growth? What is that routine like for you?
Repeat the question, please.
What is your routine to continue to grow and to work on yourself, to educate yourself, to become a Toastmaster so that you can grow as an individual? What is that routine like for you?
Great question, David. My routine is to stay as much in touch with my fellow Toastmasters on a regular basis. And I do that through mentoring other Toastmasters. Part of the She Leads, She Speaks Club, and part of our pathways is mentorship. I have about 3 mentees right now, and by staying in touch with them, by seeing where they are in their path, where seeing they are with them development, and then watching them grow, that inspires me. It inspires me on so many levels because it reminds me of, the different areas, the different levels that we are all at. Even though I've achieved my DTM, I just like seeing people go on that path and take on the different roles and frustrations and just really, really embrace the Toastmasters journey. And that keeps me within Toastmasters. It keeps me also pursuing my own development and watching how I'm doing. And it keeps me humble too, really, because humility is an exceptional mark of any leader, because as you know, that Toastmasters is all about leadership development. And part of that is remaining humble and remaining accessible and relatable and being able to remain also authentic in my own journey, and knowing that there's no place that I've arrived, that my mentees are probably honestly, going to become my own teachers at some point. So it's a really, really powerful way of routine that I have. I usually meet with them about 1 to 3 times a month, depending on what they're working on, and stay in touch via text and WhatsApp. And that's what my routine is. Back to you, David.
Thank you, Natalie. Now, is Sonia Pons a part of that group? Does that sound familiar? Sonia Pons, is she a part of that group? Does that sound familiar? Sonia Pons, is she part of that group? It sounds like a familiar group. Sonia Pons. Okay, you will see
Yes, she
Sonia
is.
here.
She
Yes.
is.
She's not here now, but she is part of South Park, and South Park is our sister club, and Sonia's here on a regular basis. So perfect. Now, Natalie mentioned DTM. That's one reason we need to have Natalie join us, because DTM is Distinguished Toastmasters. Unfortunately, we do not have a DTM in our club, not even myself. I'm on my final project, but that's the highest level you can get after you do many, many, many things. It takes a while to get there. So it's a great accomplishment. So she is a Distinguished Toastmaster. Andrea Chocolate Butterfly, you want to answer a question? She was half asleep. Many of us, myself included, have written books or want to write books. What is your routine from beginning to end to get a book from a thought to published?
My coach, my book coach, that is, she's been on my back, because at every event I get asked that same exact question. And what I tell people is start writing, whether it's in a way that you just take out, and I'm gonna give you an example. You can use Open AI, and it will allow you to just talk, and then you can transpose that later into text. That is one of my best ways to get things out. Or you can just turn on your phone, which I do in the car. I'll turn off the radio and hear my own thoughts, which are very scary. But I can hear my own thoughts, especially when I'm like, oh, I know what I want that chapter to say. But the best ideas come when I least expect it. When I listen to each of you tell me your pain points, I know what I need to make sure our kids don't experience later. So I use a lot of real life issues, real life conversations, real life observations to write my books. But what I recommend you do first is come up with why you're writing this book. What is it that you want people to really, really get out of writing that book? If you're writing a book just to write a book, please don't write it. If you're writing a book to get rich, it probably won't happen. I don't mean no harm. It's like a big old business card, an expensive business card is what I was told. But write the book because you've been given the message, but know what your message is. Take that message, break it down into probably 10 different sections so that you can keep your thoughts organized. And guess what? You'll have your book before you know it.
Thank you, Andrea. Appreciate it. Our newest member, Mike, want to do a Toastmaster? He's so new, he's not technically new. He's paid. He just hasn't been signed up. So that's how new he is. So congratulations on being a member, Mike. Now you were a guest, what, 8 times, 6 times? About 20, yeah. It was a guest a lot. What was your routine to just motivate yourself just to come as a guest, even though you're probably scared for a while, just keep coming, and now you're a member? What was that routine like to just get here and stand here now?
Just let the heart rate slow down a little bit. But the way I developed my routine to keep showing up as a guest was just because I had a certain kind of desire to maximize my potential. I knew that I wasn't a speaker, never been much of a speaker, especially in public, kind of just laid back, stay out the way kind of guy. But I figured that public speaking was one of those things that, it just makes you better as a person, helps you grow as a person, provides you a lot of different opportunities in life. So I knew that this was something that I wanted to tackle. So learned about Toastmasters. I was determined to keep showing up. When I got here, I heard a lot of the speakers that have already been here, a lot of the members, and I was blown away. And I said to myself that one day I hope to, kind of pick up on some of their tips and tricks and all that good stuff, so I can somehow mold myself to be at least a decent speaker. So I figure that ways in life to get better or something is just to surround yourself with around people who are already good at it. So I figured if I just show up, sit here, eventually some of these amazing speakers, juice will kind of spill on me a little bit. So yeah.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Mr. Toastmaster, we have time for one or two more. Where are we at? We do? Perfect. One more? Okay. And Courtney, I also wanted to mention, you did something that we all need to do and want to do, and that's walk out here. Most of us aren't brave enough to walk out here, and you did that right away. That was so awesome. So that was great. Leon, are you available for a question? All right. Leon, you're a life coach. In order to be a life coach, you have to continually improve and you have to lead by example. What is your routine to continually better yourself so that you can help your clients?
Thank you for the question. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honorable guests. A routine that I stick to lead by example is sometimes showing them and leading by example that not all the time do you need a routine. In this day and age of productivity, and now with the new things in AI and machine learning, there's all these apps, there's all these different things that help you be more productive in life. But however, there's a beauty in going through the no plan is what I call it. See, in my job today, working in IT consulting, we focus a whole lot on strategy. And what's the difference between planning and routines and strategy is that with strategy, there's a piece of unpredictability, a piece that you can't really predict, which in return, there's no right or wrong way to handle them. And see, that's when it allows you to bring in your creative genius. And a lot of times when working with clients, they're really bogged down on 1 + 1 = 2. I'm here now, I want to be there. And they forget about the uniqueness that they bring to the table that can help them maximize their potential. And once they're able to realize that, that then empowers them to continue to go after the things that they feel most fulfill in life. So to answer your question plainly, one of the things that I do is always letting them know that even as a life coach, I too don't have it all figured out. I too also don't always have routines and plans to achieve my goals, but that gives me the opportunity to apply my uniqueness and my God-given abilities to maximize my own potential. Table topic master.
Thank you, Leon. Appreciate it. Marcel, when you're done writing, you can get a timer's report and some words of wisdom. Seem to give words of wisdom every time you come up.
That was amazing. Everybody came in under 2 minutes. So starting off, Natalie, 1 minute and 56 seconds. Butterfly, I'm sorry, I didn't know your name. Butterfly, we'll call you Butterfly. 1 minute and 49 seconds. Mike, Big Mike, doing your thing, man. I love that. 1 minute and 20 seconds, big dog. And Leon, 1 minute and 53 seconds. That's professional right there, man. Good. Amazing, everybody.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And it is Andrea Chocolate Butterfly Williams is her official title. And with that, I'll turn it back to our Toastmaster of the day, Colin. Colin? Mm-hmm.
Wow, that was 4 for 4, 5 gold stars, table topics right there. That was good. That was good. I'm happy we don't have a ballot counter tonight, or have we done away with that permanently? I'm not sure, but regardless, I'm glad we don't have one tonight because it probably just would have ended up being a 4-way tie. Or something. We would have had to arbitrarily choose a winner, which I don't think would have been fair to everyone. So excellent job. Great questions as well, David. Very thoughtful, very thoughtful. I just want to say, although you're not a distinguished Toastmaster yet, you're one in our hearts. So if I haven't stroked your ego enough this evening. Yeah, someone insult the man to knock him back down a peg. But so that concludes the main course of tonight's meeting. We're going to transition now to dessert. The general evaluation. This is where we break down the individual performances and just the evaluation of the meeting as a whole. And this is what you can only get in Toastmasters. Tailored feedback from a friendly face designed to help you become better. You're not going to get that every time in the workplace. You're not going to get that at school necessarily. You have to come here in order to get that feedback that you need to become better. That's what I love about Toastmasters. This is the real jewel of the meeting. And to walk us through that, I'm going to turn things over to one of our past presidents, Vanessa Waller, who excels in the evaluation category. So please, warm welcome for Vanessa.
Thank you, Toastmaster Colin. Excellent job as our Toastmaster of the evening. And I guess I ought to answer your question about routine and what is one of my routines before I get going. One thing that comes to mind, this is a little bit nerdy of me, but I really love my skincare routine before I go to bed. It is a very simple routine. It's not something I would brag about, but it is very comforting. It helps me go to sleep at night. And I probably use at least 5 different skincare products each and every evening. A little bit embarrassing to admit that. But sometimes the simplest and most humble routines are the most comforting and also the easiest to stick with in terms of our habits. So I suppose that would be one of my routines. And as you mentioned, my role tonight is to provide a general evaluation of the meeting. And I believe we typically do not have a specific speech evaluation if we have a guest speaker. So I will just offer some general comments. But before I jump into that, I do get the privilege of bringing up someone who has been evaluating us this entire time in the background and noting our filler words, our use of the word of the day, and other grammatical issues tonight. And that is our grammarian. So please help me welcome grammarian Eric.
Thank you, Vanessa. Good evening once again, fellow Toastmasters and honorable guests. So let me share with you our grammarian report by starting out and saying, wow, this club really has an aversion to filler words because there were not very many. And I will go through people who spoke in the order that they spoke, starting with John Capello. How does the number 0 sound to you tonight? So you did not have any filler words. Marcelo, I didn't hear any from you either. David, same thing. Natalie, hardly any, maybe one Natalie. Andrea, you did not have any, spoke beautifully tonight. Mike, for your first time officially as a member coming up and doing table topics, you did great. I counted maybe a couple of ums and so's. And Leon, I did not count any from you tonight either. Courtney, you did a great job. There's something in Toastmasters called the icebreaker speech. That's usually the first speech that a new member gives to the group. And you kind of gave like an icebreaker speech today. You even spoke longer and you really did well. I think you said or so once or twice, but that was about it. And really did a super job. Let me just add a couple of interesting quotes that I heard people say that I do want to share. Colin, I really enjoy your comparison to the meeting being like a feast. And you did that several times. Concluded with the main course. Now we're transitioning to dessert. John, you said something that I will hopefully remember.
You don't rise to your highest level of expectation. You rise to your highest level of preparation. And you had done a great job preparing for your meeting here. And again, as speaker did a fantastic job motivating us tonight. Leon, I liked your comment. There's beauty in going with the no plan. I think I've done that for most of my life to the dismay of my family. And then Vanessa, I think something you said was incredibly memorable. Sometimes the simplest, humblest routines are the most comforting. And I think that's very, very true. And I'm going to share that expression with some other people as well. Just a final comment for people who are new to the meeting, and also for Courtney, to remind people we have a YouTube channel. All this gets posted. So if you want to see what you look like and critique yourself, you can do so. That is the end of the word of the day. I'm sorry. Kudos to Colin for using the word of the day, not once, but twice. And so I'm happy to report that you doubled everybody else's use of the word of the day. Back to you, Madam Evaluator, Vanessa. That concludes the grammarian report. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. And actually, I will be one more person using the word of the day to refer to our guest speaker tonight. And our guest speaker, Courtney, is just an excellent example of someone with a lot of altruism who was clearly going out of her way to not only serve in a really important role as a mental health counselor, but to continue to serve others in her volunteer work today. And Courtney, I know that we don't typically do a speech evaluation for guest speakers, but I had to call out a few things that were just really great about your speech that I thought you should know. And I will admit at first that I don't have too much knowledge of the mental health sector. My sister used to work as a therapist, and I heard a little bit more from your speech, so I have a little bit of context. But even as someone who didn't know much about the topic, your storytelling really brought it to life for me. And your story about helping someone who was struggling with substance misuse and needed extra help, that was really a heartwarming story, but it also gave the audience something to focus on, even if they didn't know perhaps all the jargon and all of the industry background that you know as a professional. You were able to bring us all into your story and have a lot of interest in what you were going to say next as we listen to you. So I thought that was really wonderful. And I loved what you shared about just telling someone that they're worthy. That is something that I want to make more of a mental routine. Speaking of routines, something that I need to tell myself and think about for others as well, that we are all truly worthy. Doesn't really matter if we are an experienced speaker or if we were brand new. And in fact, I think our table topics tonight were inspired by your generosity in giving this speech and your engagement with the audience. We had a lot of wonderful table topics come up to the stage after you finished. And I think your tone and your stage presence was very inspiring to us all. So thank you again for joining us tonight as our guest speaker. And of course, we can't leave out the wonderful role fillers. As always, we need to fill roles every meeting to have a smoothly functioning Toastmasters meeting. Colin, you did an excellent job as our Toastmaster of the evening. I know initially, and we used to work together in the same company, so Colin, forgive me if I am sharing too much, but initially you were expressing a little reservation about jumping into the role of Toastmaster. And you were saying that this was kind of a big leap. And I have to say, you just sounded like such a natural. And of course, you've had a little experience in the club, but you did not need to worry one bit because your role as Toastmaster was basically flawless, including your theme of routines, something all of us can relate to and think about. Of course, we had our other supporting roles, timer, and I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. I was having some audio issues, but the timer who stepped in, and I don't think you were on the agenda, but thank you so much for stepping in to help us track how long we're speaking for. That is such an important role. And of course, we have our inspirational / joke master, John Capello, as always, giving us a really inspiring speech that really could be a standalone speech and not just a little bit of inspiration. So thank you for another very thorough, inspirational talk. And we have our grammarian, Eric. Eric's also our VP of Education, and it shows because he knows how to educate us about grammar and filler words in a way that is uplifting, but also instructional. And our Table Topics Master, Media Past President, David Jones. Thank you for working the routine topic so effortlessly into your questions, because I think that that helps us, especially if we are a little nervous to do a table topics. If we have an idea of what the topic of the evening is and that the questions will relate to it, somehow that is comforting, and having that routine built into our meetings is kind of a nice safety blanket, if you will, for those who may be newer to know what to expect. And again, thank you to everyone, including our wonderful guest speaker, for participating, as well as our guests who were brave enough to come and at least say a few words. And with that, I will turn it back over to our Toastmaster to finish off the rest of the meeting.
Thank you so much, Vanessa, for the thoughtful evaluation. As always, very much a treat whenever you fill that role. I'd like to leave you all tonight, cap off this excellent meeting with a personal appeal to our guests and newer members. Make Toastmasters a part of your routine. Earlier, I broke down the formula of what makes a routine. It's intention plus consistency. Toastmasters has found a very consistent formula for us. It prescribes a time and a place, Tuesday evenings, 6:30 p.m. at the Vine and online. And it also outlines a sequence of events and roles that's very regimented. You come to these meetings week after week. You know what to expect. You know the opportunities that are available to you, the different roles, for instance. All that's required of you is the intention. That's all you need. All you have to do is choose to be here and choose to participate. It's one of the easiest routines, in my opinion, that you can build, because every other routine that you may need in your life, unless you join the military where they enforce or force a routine upon you, you have to find the consistency, which is a very difficult thing. Toastmasters makes it easy for you to ease your way into the club, ease your way into this journey of self-improvement. So take advantage of that. It's not as scary, it's not as difficult as it looks, and you will feel that growth if you make that commitment and set that intention. Thank you so much for allowing me to be your Toastmaster of the evening. Thank you to those who participated tonight, either in roles or by courageously standing up to speak. Thank you to Courtney for the excellent guest speech. It takes a lot of courage, a double dose of courage, I think, to come before a group of people that you have absolutely no familiarity with and talk about something that is deeply personal. So thank you for bringing that tonight. And with that, I will turn the meeting back over to our presiding officer, Elvis Lopez.
I would like to ask for another round of applause for our Toastmaster of the day. You have nothing to fear. You were ready for the job already. Good job. I would like to thank our guest speaker one more time, Courtney, for an excellent job. And I would like to thank our guests for coming over tonight. As usually, we always like to hear from our guests one more time at the end of the meeting. So I will pass the mic over to our guests, and I will then close up the meeting with some information about the club goals that I think will be of interest of all of you. So before we close up, I will pass on the mic to our guests, starting with our distinguished Toastmasters tonight.
I thought the meeting was amazing. Everyone extremely friendly and open, and yeah, it's been an honor to be here. And I thank you guys for being so inviting, especially given this big transition. So yeah.
As mentioned before, I think tonight was a great night. Thank you, Courtney, for your inspirational speech and, giving us all inspiration to, volunteer into our community and make a change in someone else's lives. Just so many people speaking with you, just being vulnerable and just listening. I mean, I know a lot of people that I've interacted with, just listening is very key. Presenting a solution to somebody just isn't always the best solution, but just listening to what they have to say, just brings tears to the eyes. So, and just, getting that off their chest. So thank you again. And thank you all for a great evening.
Hi, everyone. I'm Princess. This is definitely a new experience for me, but I'm happy I showed up. I'm happy that I'm going to continue to make this my intention to be here every Tuesday. And thank you for all the speakers. You guys were great for the first time. And yes, that's it. Okay. Anybody else?
Well, very inspirational words tonight, guys. I would have said that all of you were naturals and have been doing this your whole lives. So, Courtney, I didn't see you act nervous at all. I thought you delivered a great speech up there. Something I definitely hope to be able to do. If I get into a routine of coming out to Toastmasters and getting better and better, then I hope to be as good as Marcelo one day. You bring so much energy and a love to what you're doing, and you're just so fun when you're out there that you're improved greatly. So I hope to as well.
Can we also ask Courtney to just share her thoughts? This was your first Toastmasters meeting, correct?
Correct. This was my first Toastmasters meeting. I've heard a lot about it from Heather. I honestly had no idea what to expect. I pulled into the parking lot and thought, what did I get myself into? I just appreciate so much you having me, being so open and willing, not only to listen, but I feel like I've learned so much tonight, and I'm really grateful for that experience. So thank you for the warm welcome, and thank you for all the lessons I learned while I was here tonight.
And will you stick around in case people want to talk to you? And I will send your contact information out, and we'll try to get you with as many people as they want to volunteer.
Thank you, Eric, our VP of Education. I would also like thank you, John. Before I forget, our guests also online, please unmute yourself and let us know your thoughts about the meeting. Who would like to go first? Go ahead.
I can go first. Another good experience. Everyone did an amazing job. I have quite a few things to work on. I find that I'm trying to pay attention to the speech, but I'm also counting filler words. I'm also like, how am I going to incorporate the word of the day? So I can't wait to actually be there in person, but amazing job, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add to that. I was really impressed by all the speakers that were up there. And for me, something I really would like to aspire to be like the people who presented tonight.
Thank you. It's good to have you here. And one more thing that I wanted to talk about. As part of our goals as a club, we are pursuing to be a distinguished club. As you see here, we have different ribbons that our club has earned every year as part of our achievements as a club. One of our goals is been a President Distinguished Club. That requires to achieve a series of goals. And by the count of 9, you achieve a President Distinguished Club. We already have achieved 7 of those goals, which makes us a Select Distinguished Club. What we need to do in order to be a President Distinguished Club is to complete one more level 1 and one level 3. So that means a member who is on Pathways. Pathways is part of our educational system that you as a member enroll to and basically completes a series of projects. Every time you come here and speak, that counts as a credit towards your Pathways. And it has multiple levels, level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So one member needs to complete level 1 and another member needs to complete a level 3 before here and end of June. Is that achievable? Absolutely, yes. So I would like to continue to encourage all of our members to sign up for speeches next week, the week after, and the next, so that you continue pursuing your goal. And by doing that, our club also achieves a President Distinguished Award. So let's beat that goal up before the end of June. That is definitely possible, and I'm counting with all of our club leadership to support you and all of you to continue pursuing your goals of becoming better leaders and better communicators. With that, I would like to also finalize with congratulating our selected club growth director for the district, our very own David Jones, who now is pursuing another personal goal. So congratulate you. Congratulations. And with that, I would leave you here with, I would not be next week. I will be, David is not going to be here either next week. So it's an interesting situation, but obviously we have other members who will be taking care of the meeting. As always, we will have a meeting next week, and I will be joining online for the next couple of weeks as I will be out of the country. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight, and good night, everyone. Thank you for your support.
You know, I like this sound. I think that's something that, yeah. So I think maybe some opportunities. Steps. Any form of like, we talk about things that you did a good job at kind of backing that up, explaining what pathways are, but sometimes we speak about things that you maybe did not understand. You know, and then I feel this natural inclination that I feel intrigued by the feedback. And in terms of starting on our, I mean, it's clearly the most recently started. Previously, it's now excited that but that means you're still hardware. I might not be your host. But whoever does become started. If we were to maybe cycle that responsibility through different take a meeting. I'd be happy to contribute that way, but I just pray that if I raise my hand for starting, I could be able to come just enough to make it really impactful. Like David comes almost every meeting, every meeting, set a meeting, you know. Yeah, I feel like I can't sit just yet. Yeah, I'll be able to. I love it. Still understanding. Yeah, everybody said. And I know he used to come like 30, 40 minutes certainly. Yeah, I totally understand. And I think in that duty, it makes, I think it is rude in certain places. Exactly. Be happy to. Yeah, there were some. Hey, but it was very cool, very cool. Take care, Leon. The tables are ready to go back. That's right. That's right. That's right. And you and I was never good at it. Install. Back. You know what you have to. Yeah. I thought. Maybe food. Growth director. Well, next year looks like. But yeah, I didn't ask enough questions. But also involved in this, yeah, I thought we were going to donate to. Yeah. Surprise. Yeah. I got to give I got, yeah, family duties. Yeah. I think stable, take the table there today. That'll get us going. Usually we have Jamie help us that here. Stop. Be careful. Yeah, I'm gonna see the computers. I cranked them up today and made them both. Yes, where did we land on the balance? So most people were against it. No, yeah, actually, I went in, I think it has its value.
Yeah, that is just another call.